On today's show, you've been asking for it. We're finally going to talk about it. Or should I say him? KPJ. The elephant in the room. Everything you need to know or should know. The talent that he has. What he could bring to the table. And what the Clippers are showing by bringing him to LA. And finally, how should we feel as fans? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Off-Season Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. And just finished my 19th season as a Clipper fan in early May. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know in the comment section what you think about KPJ, how you feel about signing him as a fan, given everything I'm going to talk about. And, of course, I know there's going to be some crazy disagreements on certain things that I say in this episode, and this is a very sensitive subject, so, have at it in the comments, but let's try to keep it respectful. This episode is going to be an interesting one. I've sat on it for a while. I wanted to make sure I spoke with the network to talk about what the best way to do it was, what the main talking points should be, and I think it's just fair that I start off by giving you everything you need to know about the controversy surrounding Kevin Porter Jr., because that's the elephant in the room. Like, we can talk about basketball and this and that, but it's not right for me as a host to talk about a signing with such controversy and only talk about basketball and just completely ignore everything. That's just not how this works. And this is not how fans feel. I know how some of the fans feel. I think I have a pretty solid pulse on the fan base, as close as people could have, as someone could have, I should say. So let's talk about it. Kevin Porter Jr., I knew him. I'm a USC fan. My dad went there. I've been supporting the USC sports since I was 7 years old. But when he was at USC for a year, I was in college. So I didn't really get to know anything about him except for the fact that he was suspended by Andy Enfield and the coaching staff for misconduct and crossing a team policy or something like that. And he was suspended for 2 weeks. I remember at one point Andy Enfield was saying that he might not ever play the game as a Trojan again, but he ended up still playing 21 games that season. But that was already the first potential red flag. Then with Cleveland, he was suspended early on in his NBA career. He was a rookie in the 2019-20 COVID season. He was suspended on November 4th for bumping into a ref, and it was clearly intentional. So again, that's nothing that's nothing crazy, but it's just okay, you got to relax, buddy. Then he was arrested going into the next season on November 15th, 2020, when he got into a car accident, flipped his Mercedes SUV on an interstate southeast of Cleveland. Police found a loaded handgun and a small amount of weed in the car. Apparently the car and the gun belonged to his mom, not him. The charges were dropped, but he started the season inactive as a result of all that. I got not much to say about that, That's not the worst thing in the world. Accidents happen, but still not safe. Then he had a locker room outburst. I remember this vividly. He had a locker room outburst when Taurean Prince got traded to the Cavs, and I'm pretty sure Kevin Porter wasn't playing yet, so they moved his locker, and he just went absolutely ballistic and allegedly was throwing things. And the Cavs were like, we don't want this guy around anymore. Traded him to Houston for a second-round pick that was top 55 protected, so it's never going to convey. So essentially they just said, we don't want this guy here anymore. And that's a guy who averaged 10 points his rookie year coming off the bench. Averaging double figures as a rookie coming off the bench. I know the Cavs are bad, but that's saying something to give away someone like that because of actions like that. So then he spent the rest of the 2021 season in Houston, spent the full 2021-22 season in Houston, and that's the season where he had an incident at halftime of a 7th straight loss for the Rockets at the time. He and Christian Wood apparently got called out by assistant coach John Lucas, who's a longtime assistant coach for the Rockets, and he threw a tantrum, was throwing stuff, and left the arena at halftime of a game against the Denver Nuggets. So this is at the point where I was like, okay, this guy's clearly a problem. Like clearly, and the teams that he's on are just bad teams. Not saying that's completely his fault, but let's just say that he's not doing anything to make it winning culture around there. But the talent is undeniable, and I'm going to talk about the talent in the second segment. This first segment, I'm just going to address the elephants in the room, which is the stuff surrounding KPJ. We'll talk about the talent, the basketball in the second segment, and then we'll talk about what the Clippers are kind of showing by doing this. But about right now, what's most important is the controversy and how we feel as fans, because that's what everyone's talking about. At least everybody I know. Now, he was suspended 1 game for that altercation with John Lucas. He ended the season really well. But as I said, we'll talk more about the basketball later. After the 2022-23 season, and mind you, he had gotten paid a 4-year, $82.5 million extension by Houston, but some of it was non-guaranteed because of these off-court incidents. Now, after the season, so going into this past season, 2023-24, news broke that he was charged with strangling his girlfriend, Kysre Gondrezick, who has become a very well-known WNBA player who actually just got waived by the Chicago Sky for 2 reasons. 1, for being involved in this, and 2, for, being one of, at least in my opinion, I know, looks are all subjective. And, someone I know used to always say to me, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But for me, one of the most beautiful women in the WNBA. And she's well known for those 2 reasons right now. And now she's dating Jaylen Brown, apparently. So, hey, shout out to Jaylen Brown. But he was charged with strangling her. And the initial reports were that he pleaded not guilty and was released on a $75,000 cash bail. But the report said that he returned early Monday morning in September of 2023 from a night out to the Millennium Hilton where he and Gondrezick were staying. And she was upset about how late he was coming home and locked the door. And then once he entered with the help of hotel security, apparently, he beat her up. And apparently, this is according to the initial reports, Kysre Gondrezick told police that KPJ struck her repeatedly about the face with a closed fist, causing a laceration above her right eye and bruising and substantial pain to her face. Also said that KPJ applied pressure to her neck by forcefully squeezing it, causing her to experience difficulty breathing, redness, and bruising to her neck and substantial pain. She was taken to NYU Langone, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, Langone Medical Center, where doctors said she suffered a fractured vertebrae in her neck. There were no pictures of this. I at one point thought there were pictures of this, but there were no pictures of her bruises or anything like that, not that I've seen. And at the time, KPJ was due back in court on October 16th of 2023. So initially when those reports came out, we were like, yo, oh my God, like this is terrible. This is crazy how, screw this guy. What a terrible person. And, that's totally valid. That's completely unacceptable. The way I was raised, you don't put your hands on a woman at all, period, without her consent. And that is just, hitting. I think hitting anyone is wrong, obviously. But, hitting a woman, hitting your partner, it's just completely out of bounds. And I don't think that a player should get the privilege of playing in a league that everyone dreams of playing in when doing that. At the end of the day, these people, it's not just about basketball. These people are public figures. These people are public figures. Kids look up to these people. We are actively rooting for them. They may not all be great guys in real life, but okay, someone's kind of an asshole. Jesus, excuse my language. Someone's kind of a jerk. Someone's not the nicest of fans. Someone's greedy, money hungry, selfish, cocky, arrogant. Okay. But beating up your girl. Now, again, let's continue, though, because there's more to this story. Let's continue. So hold off on your comments for coming at me saying this and that. I'm going to get into everything. So then news came out October 17th, 2023. I don't know if this was the exact first time it came out, but around this time, where Kysre Gondrezick denied some of those allegations and told the New York Post that it's not true. She said that the KPJ didn't break her neck. Now, mind you, they had broken up after this. She said that my injuries don't support any of those claims. She said that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and cops were to blame for the inaccuracy, so that they are fabricating things, essentially, is what she's saying. And she goes, he didn't hit me. He never balled his fists up and hit me, and he definitely didn't punch me in the face numerous times. That is a lie. I don't have any injuries to support that. She also shot down that KPJ had a history of abusing her, but she did say that she's no longer dating him and hasn't been in contact with him since he was arrested. KPJ was slapped with assault charges at the time. And here is the update on that. So that's big time, right? But there is so much talk and stuff out about, what happens to victims after this stuff happens, and the mental trauma and all that. We also don't know what happened after this. I don't know, maybe there's a lot of money paid to her to say this. Who knows? I would hope that she wouldn't do that. And if she actually did get hit, she would have more self-respect than to just take money, hush money, essentially. I hope that wouldn't be the case. But the fact that she's come out and said that, it's damn. And we also don't have pictures or anything like that. We're just going with the word of the district attorney's office, right? So then in January of this year, KPJ reached a plea deal in the New York City domestic assault case that will keep him out of jail if he completes a court-ordered treatment program and stays out of trouble. He pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault and a harassment violation in connection with the incident. And the prosecutor said that KPJ attacked her, leaving her covered in blood with a deep cut above her right eye. But of course, as I said, she denied that and said the prosecutors are pushing a false narrative. But under the agreement, KPJ must complete a 26-week, by the way, this is all coming from the AP. Basically quoting an article from the AP or paraphrasing. Porter must complete a 26-week abusive partner intervention program or an equivalent program with a private counselor, and he must also abide by a limited order of protection, attend all court dates, and have no further arrests. And if he complies, he'll be able to withdraw his assault plea in a year and will be sentenced at that time to time served for the non-criminal harassment count, effectively clearing his criminal record entirely. So the resolution, this is coming from KPJ's lawyers, the resolution will allow Mr. Porter, this is a quote, will allow Mr. Porter to put this incident, which involved false felony allegations and false facts behind him with no criminal record, and move forward. So the lawyers obviously are saying, KPJ's innocent, none of this happened. Kysre Gondrezick said he never even closed his fist. And of course, the Rockets traded him to OKC, who immediately cut him. They paid him $16.5 million. But man, I really don't know what to believe. I really don't know what to believe. The fact that Kysre Gondrezick disputed it and called it all fake news and false information is makes you think. Apparently, she said that KPJ and her argued for not even 10 seconds in the hotel room, and that the injuries were a result of her falling and hitting her head when he startled her coming into the room. That just sounds like a hard to believe story. But why would she be lying? I don't know. And that goes back to the sensitive topic of if it did happen, the mental trauma that comes from those kind of things, especially just a month after, I don't know. Her sister went out on Instagram and was going crazy on KPJ when the initial reports came out, but those were the initial reports. Who knows? I don't know how to feel. I can't lie. I don't know how to feel. When I first heard it and before I looked into all this, I was like, yeah, I don't want to support KPJ. I don't want to support him. I don't want to support anybody that is involved in domestic assault, domestic violence and assaulting his girlfriend and all this stuff. I don't want to root for someone like that. And now that I've gotten older, it's not just about winning a championship by any means necessary if it meant having, criminals on the team. Like, I don't want, no, thank you. I'm sorry. Like, I want to be proud and rooting for something. And yes, I believe I want to root for decent human beings. Now, again, it's district attorney's office and initial reports versus all this information. I don't know what to think, but coming up, we're going to talk about the basketball side of things. Because at this point, he's on the Clippers. We got to talk about the basketball side of things. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's talk about the basketball. I mentioned briefly about KPJ. And by the way, KPJ is an explosive, really shifty, deep bag, ISO one-on-one scorer. Now, as I said, in his rookie season, 10 points in 50 games, almost every single one off the bench. But then with Houston, at the end of the 2021 season, their first season without James Harden, where they were like fully just tanking, John Wall, they had tried that experiment out, didn't really work. KPJ essentially became the main ball handler and point guard. He started 23 of 26 games. In his second game for the Rockets, he dropped 27 points. He had several 20-point games. And he even had a 50.5 rebound, 11 assists game against the eventual champion Bucks. No Giannis in the game, but still. And he became the youngest player in NBA history to score 50 points and have 10-plus assists in a game. He showed a lot of potential there. Now, granted, the Rockets were 4-22 in those 26 games. They weren't good. He was putting up stats on a bad team. But not a lot of people can score 50 points in an NBA game. Not a lot of rookies can score 50 points in an NBA game. He averaged 17 points and 6 assists that season. You started to see some pick and roll chops, some good lob passing. I don't know how good of a passer he is overall because I didn't get to watch him every night. He can pass, but I don't know if he's much of a willing passer. He's definitely more of a gunner. But anyway, 42.5% from the field shooting, 31 from 3, 73 from the line. So not very good splits. But again, he's out there just gunning on a bad team, trying to get more NBA reps. It's not a big deal. Year 2 in Houston. Rockets have Jalen Green now. So they kind of split the ball handling duties. You see a little bit more catch and shoot from KPJ. And it was a rough start to the season. He was very inefficient to begin that 2021-22 season. He did end up being pretty solid in the catch and shoot. But he really just ended the season on a tear. He had a triple-double against the Sacramento Kings late in that season. And I'll just tell you his splits because to end the season, he was really on fire. Now, granted, the Rockets were one of the worst teams in the league. But, for example, in the month of April, the last 5 games of the season, he averaged 29, 6, and 7. And then in the month of March, he averaged 16.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. So he ended the season better than he started it in 2021-22. But overall, he had a slight statistical drop, except for in three-point shooting. So he went from 17 points to 16 points. Still averaged 4 rebounds a game, actually a little bit more rebounds per game in 2022. And then 0.1 difference in assists, 6.3 in 2021, 6.2 in 2022. He shot 41.5% from the field in 2022 and 37.5% from three. So 6% better in 2022 than 2021. Free throws, though, 64%, which is very bad considering he's shown 3-level scoring ability. Played 61 games and started every single one for a bad Houston team. Now the last season he played in the NBA. By the way, as I mentioned earlier, he got a 4-year, $82.5 million extension. But again, some of it was not guaranteed. He was cooking that season, absolutely cooking, but his team was a joke. To me, the most unserious NBA team I've ever seen, coached by Steven Silas, a bunch of young guys, no structure, no discipline, no defense at all, and I know he was a part of that. Jalen Green, KPJ, two fairly inefficient gunners, and then you have Şengün, rookie Jabari Smith, and guys like Jayshawn Tate, Tari Eason, just a bunch of young guys, no adults in the room. 59 games played for KPJ. They were 18-41 in those games. They were 4-19 without him. So even though their team was terrible, and you can say he was part of the not disciplined, nature of the team, they were really bad without him. Way worse. And he had a very good statistical season. Career highs in basically everything. 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, on 44% shooting, 37% from 3, and 78% from the free throw line, which was a career high. So he's still showing, even though he's only played for bad teams, he's still showing he is a solid NBA player. He was their second leading scorer after Jalen Green. And he took 3 less shots per game, averaged 3 less points. There is no doubt that there is a very talented player here. No doubt about it. In my opinion, his role, though, on a good team is best served in being a sixth man. We already have Norman Powell. He, though, gives us some juice off the bounce, some athleticism. There were rumors before that last season that he was 6'6". He had grown. I don't know how true those are. But my question is, what does this mean for Bones Highland? I'm going to be talking about that coming up. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's really easy to compare your life to others. I think that's something that we struggle with all the time as human beings, especially in the modern day and age. We have Instagram and social media and all these different things. And especially in Los Angeles, you're so close to the biggest stars, some of the biggest stars in the world. And it's so easy to compare and look at what you don't have. Social media absolutely plays a part in all that. And also being here is tough as well. Comparison is the thief of joy. And it's easy to envy other people's lives. It might look like they have it all together on their Instagram or their Twitter, but in reality, they probably don't. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, so to close it out, I think Kevin Porter Jr. has potential to be a solid guy to come off the bench and get buckets for us. Now, the question is the defensive side of things, the little things. Will he be able to be that kind of guy, 6th or 7th man? Because that's what we're talking about here, 6th or 7th man kind of guy. Maybe 8th if you consider Terrence coming off the bench. Or Nico. Yeah, probably like 8th or 9th. Can he produce and be a guy in the locker room that's not a problem? Can he produce, and can he still defend and do the little things at a high level to keep him on the court in big moments? Because here's the thing. A 19-point-a-game scorer is not something to scoff at. Bad team or not. Bones Highland, as much as I love the guy, love him, he hasn't come close to that. But granted, there's a lot of people, including myself, that believe that if Bones Highland had a situation like KPJ where he's got nothing to lose and he can just play free, reckless ball with no abandonment, with reckless abandonment, I mean, I think he could average points. But I'm thinking like 15. I don't know about 19. KPJ is just much bigger than Bones. So, and he's in his mid-range. He can get off that step back, mid-range. He's got that, I want to say down pat, but he's got that in his bag. That step back, he's shifty. He's a fun, exciting player. The talent has always been there, and the NBA game suits him much better than college. You know, it's spaced out. And the spacing of the Clippers, that could really help him potentially. But it's tough, man. Are we going to waive Bones Highland? Are we going to try to trade Bones Highland? I don't know. Are we going to pass up on what Bones Highland's... I mean, Bones Highland's time has come. Because Russell Westbrook, he's days away from a trade. The holdup is that, you know, the Utah Jazz... Because we're trying to get Chris Dunn. We're trying to work that deal out. But the Jazz don't want to get Westbrook and bring him back. And the Nuggets... The Clippers are trying to get some more from the Nuggets than what they're probably offering. They're probably offering like a second-round pick or cash. And the Clippers are like, I want a little bit more. You're still trading for Russell Westbrook. They're like, well, you guys don't think Russell Westbrook is that good, clearly. That's what I'm guessing is happening. But KPJ, want to see if I can get certain stats about him. So his last season playing, 44% of his shots were threes. That's a lot. That's a lot. 15% within 3 feet. 22% from 3 to 10 feet. So that's a little floater, short, mid-range. And then 22%, 11.5% from 10 to 16. So mid-range. And then the shot that's very discouraged in today's game, the long two from 16 feet to the three-point line, less than 10%. I don't have too much of a problem with the distribution, but except for the threes. I mean, this 44% is a lot. That tells me that he's just a heavy jump shooter, even though he can get downhill. Now, I don't know how great his first step is. If you watch highlights, yeah, he can get downhill. If you watch games, sometimes he can get downhill. He can get downhill better than a lot of players the Clippers have. But, like, is he quicker than Bones Highland? Probably not. Bones Highland's really fast with the ball. But he can elevate. He's stronger. Now, when he gets to the paint, he shoots 71% from the basket to 3 feet. Inside 3 feet, 71%. That's really solid. It's pretty good. From 3 to 10, just 38.5%. So that floater is not great. That should be a 40% or higher shot. That floater, or a short mid-range. 46% from the mid-range, 10 to 16. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then the shot that I said is discouraged, doesn't take much, 48%. So he's got a mid-range. He does. He's one of those players that does. But to me, I looked at his highlights throughout the last couple seasons. Nothing comes really like off the ball. He's pretty stagnant. It's a lot of catch and if he can make catch and shoot threes the way he did that past season, that'll be big time. But if we can get him in movement a little bit more, that would be nice. I don't expect too much from him like that. To me, he's a sixth-man energizer kind of guy. Come in, get buckets. But we have guys like that. We have three essentially right now in Norm, KPJ, and Bones. The only thing about Norm is he doesn't really create. He's not like a Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams or even a KPJ in that respect. He's kind of a guy that plays off stars, but he can just get buckets. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do. I genuinely don't know what we're going to do with the Bones Highland situation. I think Bones Highland and KPJ is pretty redundant. But what does this say about the Clippers? Well, we know the Clippers have been trying to be that team that rejuvenates guys' careers and gives them a second chance. But we're talking about guys like Nico Batum, who were called washed in the basketball world. We're talking about Reggie Jackson, who was called washed in basketball and nobody wanted him. James Harden, who had no takers, teams that wanted to trade for him. Russell Westbrook, whose value was low at the time and contending teams didn't really want him, outside of maybe Miami, the rumors with that. The Clippers have been the team. And John Wall, he looked like he was washed, done. Clippers said, you know what, let's take a chance. Didn't work out. Josh Primo. Now that has more in relation to this. Something that's bad for PR. Stuff involving women. The Clippers have made it clear that they want to be a team that's like a rejuvenation center. Or, I don't want to say rehab center because, yes, rehab, but like I don't want to sound, messed up because I do encourage people. I encourage rehab. Rehab is not bad. Rehab is good. For people that, have struggled with things. I don't want to, make it seem like I'm discriminating against people that have gone to rehab or making a joke about it because I'm not. But I'm just saying that the Clippers, they're like, this is what they seem to want to be. They want to be a team that gives guys second chances. And look, I just want to say this. If it's true and Kevin Porter Jr. actually did beat up his girlfriend, that, I believe in second chances stuff. Like, if my sister got hit by a guy, I think he should, like, die. Like, honestly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no sympathy. I'm sorry. Like, if that happened to my little sister, I would actually want to kill them with my bare hands. So, that second chance stuff, like, when you're a grown adult, like, not with that for me. I'm sorry. But if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. I don't know. That's not a stuff. When it comes to, like, robbing something, okay, second chance. When it comes to certain mistakes, second chance. That is not just something like that. Yeah. I don't know. This was a tough episode to record. I tried to be as, I don't even know what the words are, careful as possible. I know it's going to be a lot of nastiness in the comments, but this isn't an easy job. And it's especially not easy when the players are employing guys with this kind of history. My thing is this. The history does not do him any favors that he could do something like that. I know it has nothing to do with women, that other stuff, but I don't know. There are some people that think how you do one way is how you do everything. I'm not one of those people, but I don't necessarily feel extremely comfortable rooting for this guy. I'll put it that way. I don't necessarily feel very comfortable. If he's innocent, by all means, I'd love to root for him. No question about his talent, though. Let me know what you think of the episodes. I want to apologize if I've offended anybody with the rehab comment or anything like that. Again, I always encourage people that have struggled to not be afraid or hesitant to go to rehab. Don't be ashamed of it at all. I know one of my really, really good friends went to rehab because he was doing too much drinking, too much weed, too much of all that early in our college days. And he's one of my best friends, and he's been off that for several years now. So just want to make that clear. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Let me know what you think of the episode and what you think of the signing of Kevin Porter Jr. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.